If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday as we welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you for the next 2 hours. Lots to get to in the NBA and NHL postseason. We got golf, we got baseball. The list goes on and on, JVT.
Yes, indeed. Including, as I was telling you, I've been into this college baseball stuff as the conference tournaments are underway. They're underway right now, in fact. We're seeing if Cal can pull off the upset, and Wake Forest is coming back 9-7. Because I was actually – so they were up 9-4. Cal's pretty big underdog today. I don't know anything about the intricacies of these teams, the bullpens, whatever, but I was like, Wake's a pretty big favorite. I should bet him to come back in this game. But I never did anything, and here we are. Now down by 2. We'll see if Cal can hold on here. But, yes, very excited. The sports have been tremendous outside of – we don't need to cover what happened last night in hockey.
A little bit, though, which I'm kind of like, and I don't want to say I'm excited to get to it because obviously I liked the Canes yesterday too, but considering how much I've been adamant about Florida being the better team and them winning the series, I felt a little bit good about it. But
I don't think you can gloat. I'm not. I don't think you can.
Did I gloat?
You might. Well, you might when we get there. I mean, I've said this whole time Florida was going to win this series, so I don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, yeah, on that note, we also have a couple great guests that we're going to get into. Jonathan Davis, our VSiN hockey betting expert, being one of them. So we'll get his breakdown of what transpired last night, looking ahead to that Canes-Florida series, what he thinks is going to happen ultimately, and of course tonight with the Oilers and Stars kicking off the Western Conference. Plus, of course, all of the NBA talk, and we'll have Stephen Hennessy, managing editor of Golf Digest, going to stop by. But let's set the table for all the big hot button items that we're going to get to on the program today. Please hit us with the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
So part of what we're going to get into with Steven, of course, is number 3 in our top 3 items today, previewing the Charles Schwab Challenge with Steven. Look at some of the names in this field. It is a strong field. Jordan Spieth, Hideki, Berger, Fleetwood. You're getting good prices on guys. Why is that? Because Scottie Scheffler's playing, and he's plus 240. I was just looking through the top 5, top 10, minus 175 for a top 5 finish, minus 330 for top 10. This guy's getting priced like Tiger in his prime right now.
I don't know why. He's not even playing that well.
Not even that good.
Yeah, he hasn't been great at all. No, like, this is incredible. I think you hit the nail on the head. You talk to old heads about, like, the way golf tournaments were priced when Tiger was playing. It was an incredible thing to see all the outrights and then Tiger at the top of the way that he was priced. And to see something like this where your favorite is plus 240 at DraftKings and then the next to 2 golfers in terms of odds are 22-1 is a pretty incredible thing to see. So we'll see if we can live up to it. By the way, just say paltry minus 340 to finish top 10.
Insane. So excited to get Steven's thought process on if you can look elsewhere or ways to back Scottie Scheffler that isn't at that price. Like, just different ways that you can get involved. So that'll be a good conversation. We also have Why Not Wednesday today, as we do every Wednesday, looking at some different plus money props, alternative situations. Anything that you really were high on today?
I have a unique Why Not Wednesday that I think I know you're going to say no, but I think it's part of a larger conversation.
All right. That'll be fun. That's a good tease, I think.
Inspired by Steve Fezzik as well.
At the very end of hour 1, when we'll get to Why Not Wednesday. And then number 1 in our top 3 items, 2 conference final statements that we saw last night. One of them, of course, we have already referenced with the Panthers defeating the Hurricanes 5-2 in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final in the NHL. But how about OKC last night? Trailed by 4 at halftime, come back and win this thing, not only to cover the 7.5, 8, whatever number it was, to win by 26.
Yeah, there was a lot of overrated, this team stinks, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm kind of looking around. I know you like the Will Ferrell references. Feel like I'm taking crazy pills, right? Like we do. What of our benchmarks has that?
Call me crazy.
There we go. Thank you very much. They were down by 4. And I'm like looking around at social media reaction like they're down by 20 in this game, the Thunder. I'm like, dude, like I have the Timberwolves here. I don't feel safe at all. I don't know what we're talking about. Timberwolves offense was awful after an 8-0 start in that game. I think there's so many things it's easy to look at a game like this and point to everything that went wrong and hope that everything gets corrected as you move forward. But yet again, the two constants, if we want to put this very simplistically before we get into the granular aspects of this game, the Thunder defense was great, and their offense kind of stunk. And I like, you look, their defense is so good that it has outweighed Stormy, but this team on defense has been absolutely unreal throughout this entire postseason run, and that continued here again today.
Yeah, forcing turnovers and capitalizing them, a big theme for Oklahoma City. Scored 31 points off turnovers last night. And we talked about Minnesota needing to reel those in, and they weren't able to do it last night. And what did you think specifically? And I mean, I'm curious your thoughts on Anthony Edwards and the injury and how you think that he's going to go next game and beyond, how he's going to look. But specifically the way that they defended him in this game, like it was shut down. And that's why when you were talking about some of the series-long props, said, hey, it depends on the way Oklahoma City is going to defend him. If they are making life hard on him, if they are doubling him, if they are taking that approach, maybe he's not the way you want to look in some of these series-long props. I'm not saying that's going to continue the rest of the way in this series, but they did an excellent job of that last night.
So it was very similar, I thought, to Jokic, right? One of the things that we talked about with Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, and we didn't get the stats for the rest of the entirety of the series, but I think this was going into Game 6, if I remember correctly, in Denver. But one of the things that we had harped on in that series was look at the difference between what Denver did at the rim in the regular season and at the rim in this series against the Thunder. Thunder built a wall, and we're just like, nope, you're not getting to the restricted area. Anthony Edwards had one shot attempt in the restricted area last night. That's insane. They just completely. There was actually a pretty good clip out there where, because Edwards is getting better as a passer, he had an assist on an open three in the corner. But if you watch the clip, he's got 3 Thunder defenders right in front of him, walling off the rim. He can't do anything other than kick it out there, and that caused the Timberwolves to be very passive. I was on with Gil and Kelly this morning, and what I invoked was what we talked about with the Warriors series. Remember in Game 1, we discussed how they were just coin flipping at the rim, right? Like they were getting to the rim, but they weren't really getting there. In this game, Stormy, again, a key metric here, a key number, Anthony Edwards only had 1 shot attempt within the restricted area. The Timberwolves attempted 12 total shots within 4 feet of the basket. That's absolute insanity, too. Like, you've got to be able to pressure the rim. So let's see if you can actually do something here. If you're going to be able to, as the other players, attack closeouts, things like that. But the Thunder's ability to cut off the rim was very, very vital. The other easy adjustment, though, how about this statistic? This is from ESPN. Shooting on open three-pointers in Game 1 for the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Oklahoma City was 10 for 16. Very good. Minnesota was 11 for 39. So they generated 39 open three-point attempts, but they could only hit 11 of them. That's got to be better, too.
Well, and so to your point, though, about them not being able to get inside, I don't know how much they were trying to because they just kept on shooting from range, and 51 total threes attempted, but 83 shots total.
Yeah.
That's not the way that you're going to win games.
Yeah, your three-point rate, your rim rate, they just have to be more balanced there when you're looking at it. And so, like, those are things that one would think is somewhat correctable. But again, too, like, because, there was hockey, there were 2 things on, but I even told Gil and I were kind of bonding over this earlier. I don't know how. I think there was like 5 3-point attempts at the very least for Minnesota that did the stupid like halfway down, rattle in, and then fall and then like spin out. Like, it was just such a weird game for them in that regard. But to your point, they became very passive. Like, they weren't getting to the rim, and they were just like, well, let's just shoot these things and see what happens. That has to be much better, and you can't turn the ball over as much. So one would assume those are all correctable mistakes for Minnesota for the most part, outside of trying to figure out a Thunder defense, which has been absolutely incredible all year long. The other thing that I think is going to be interesting, too, is, we talked about this, and on the surface right now, after one game, seems maybe I was dead wrong about that. Rudy Gobert only played 21 minutes that game yesterday, and he didn't have any foul trouble throughout that game. So are the Thunder going to force this team to play very small? I think is also going to be a really interesting aspect of the series as we move forward.
Updated series price. OKC goes from -330 to -650 favorites. The Timberwolves now available at +475, and the Game 2 line is set, and we opened at that 8. So Oklahoma City laying 8, totaled 214.5. That's another thing, too. The total yesterday got bet up and up and up and falls under any number.
Yeah, and I think, too, given, again, 11 of 39 on open three-point attempts, the inability to get to the rim, all those sort of things. I do think that you were probably deserving of a better fate, especially if you bet it early, right? When you looked at I think opening number was in the range of like 214. You bet all the way up. So you probably deserved a little bit more in that regard. I would assume that maybe, at least from a scoring standpoint, you get a little bit of a bounce back, and the coming back to play the over one more time would be the play there.
Okay, so what was your biggest takeaway in hockey last night?
That the Carolina Hurricanes actually kind of did look like the more finesse and softer team.
So I thought both, like last night when you looked at the way both of these teams came out, that the team that went to Game 7 actually looked like the more fresh team in both of those series last night.
Like, at least the Thunder kind of got off to a slow start, but they eventually just kind of wore them down, and eventually, to your point, looked much better. Florida came out right away and looked like the team that was fresher and ready to go.
I did feel bad for Carolina right away early in that game when Sebastian Aho takes the retaliation penalty. Like, you don't see the first part of it. Then he ends up getting the 2 minutes for that penalty. And then Carter Verhaeghe scores right away on that power play, and it just seemed to be kind of off to the races for that. And I think it was Greg Wyshynski who I saw tweet this last night, and I think he was dead on that there are very few teams in the NHL that smell blood in the water the way the Florida Panthers do. And it's like once they get that lead, they are taking over.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, this is a team that can, like, I think this is a soccer term, but I will use it, essentially park the bus relatively well. Like, when you get up, you can really collapse in and just not let anybody get back into that game if you're Florida. I will say, too, and I think it's going to be pretty interesting, that Adam brought up a great point, too, and we talked about this yesterday. Even strength yesterday, the Hurricanes actually did double up the Panthers in high-danger chances. They didn't really capitalize on them. So, like, moving forward again, are you still going to be unable to capitalize on some of these high-danger chances that you are getting? At the end of the day, it is one game. I don't want to freak out too much, but boy, oh boy.
Yeah,
I definitely didn't send you guys any text messages yesterday.
We did get we got the saves prop home for Sergei Bobrovsky. My Brad Marchand prop, though, however, I feel like everyone else on Florida got on the score sheet except for him. Yeah. So that was a little bit of a dagger. Panthers, by the way, 9-1 when they take Game 1 of a series, 6-0 in the set when they go up on the road. Worthwhile noting that when they take that early lead in a series, they tend to close it out, and the price has gone up with that. We're going to take our first time out of the day. When we come back, looking at today's postseason action. Don't go anywhere.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you. Last segment, we were talking about the conference finals matchups we saw last night. We got two more tonight coming up in the NBA and the NHL. Pacers and Knicks going head-to-head in Game 1. Same for Oilers and Stars, that game in Dallas. But let's start in the NBA, especially because, JVT, this is the series that you wrote up at VSiN.com. You got a full series breakdown. Why are you giving me that look?
I was just like, I can't pick my nose here, man. Like yesterday, it looked good for Minnesota, right? And then all of a sudden, the Thunder come storming back in that one. So, look, from a Game 1 perspective, I will sit back and watch this. I have much more confidence that this is going to be a long series. The actual bet that I made over 5.5 games at that minus 165 price. But I do find it interesting. Knicks getting bet up. We saw this open 3.5. We're up to 4.5 now. Total getting bet up as well, 222 to 223.5. What I find interesting about that story is Knicks, a team that wants to play slower, getting bet up, but total getting bet up as well. One would think that if this is a little bit of a higher scoring game, a little bit more quicker pace, it would fall in line with what the Pacers want to do here. But I cannot wait to watch this game. I think this is going to be a great series, and I think this is going to be a fantastic game to open.
So I love that last comment that you made. What do we get in terms of pace? Because, yes, Indiana plays that way, but New York plays slow, and they've been playing even slower in the postseason.
So I tend to think, I don't know if it manifests here, but as the series goes on, I think we start to kind of get the pace that New York wants. Because generally, as series drag out, they get a little bit slower because games become more important. And obviously, this is the second most important series because the next one up is the NBA Finals. And so as you get tighter and these games in this series drags out, I think this is eventually going to go at the rate that New York wants to play. So I think that eventually we get to where New York wants it. I don't know if that happens right away. Indiana definitely wants to run this thing out. They want to pressure New York. They'll probably pick them up full court a lot of the times. They'll make a team that is not that much deeper work a lot harder. I think that there's something to be said of what they did to Cleveland, right? Cleveland had these guys that were injured to the point where they were making Donovan Mitchell work so hard, Isaac Okoro was bringing the ball up because they were just pressuring him the entire time. There's probably going to be something to that. I think when you look at the Pacers and their ability to just send out like full bench line changes, right? Here you go, all 5 of you, just throw out there, let's go with some different dudes, as opposed to what the Knicks have to do, which is play 7 guys, and that's about it. Like that will, I think, work in the Knicks' favor. But, dude, they've been healthy. They've done such a great job. I think that eventually over the course of a long series, it gets a little bit slower. That helps the Knicks eventually win in 7.
As far as tonight goes, we have seen the spread bet out a little bit in favor of the Knicks from 3.5 to 4.5. A little bit of movement on the total as well. Open 222.5, seeing a lot of 223.5 right now. As far as that movement on both items go, what do you think?
I mean, I'd agree with both. I think that even if the Knicks play slower, I think both teams can score against each other's defense. Like for the Knicks, for example, we had brought up the stat before, but in the regular season, the Knicks were 6-16, and I think they were about 22nd. I'll pull up the exact number. But about mid to high 20s in defensive rating against top 10 teams in the NBA. They were 10 games under 500 against those teams. And a lot of it had to do with the way they played on that end. I still think this is a team that has those challenges for the most part. And I think on the other end, I think the Knicks can challenge Indiana's defense, which has been better, especially down the stretch. But I think both teams can bother the other. I think both teams are going to be able to score. So regardless of the pace, which obviously is going to shape things here, I do think you can get a game where both teams are having some offensive success. A little bit of a different game than what we saw yesterday, which got pretty ugly at some points, because I do think you're going to – look, you have 2 high-level teams offensively. You have one team that can create in isolation very well, especially with Jalen Brunson. And then the other side, you've got a team that can share the ball, move it around, shoot the ball really well. As I talked about in the article and as we mentioned yesterday, is shooting and hitting at an historical rate in the NBA postseason. Maybe that does continue. So I think that that's why you see this market kind of tepidly pushing this thing up to 223.5. I'll be curious to see where, if there is some buyback. Okay. You know, yesterday we saw some of that buyback on OKC, right? Some spots kind of started to creep back up in the other direction for the side, and you generally see some buyback once we get closer to the game. I wouldn't be surprised if we close at like 222.5, like in a smattering of places. But I'd be very curious to see if this continues to climb or if we start to head back in the other direction.
And worth noting on our VSiN Bet Splits page right now, on DraftKings, we see just 45% of the handle coming in on New York, but here at a place like Circa, 85% is laying that number. Yet on both platforms, we've seen the number move out to the 4.5. From a prop perspective, you mentioned Jalen Brunson. He has the highest point prop of anybody, as expected, 28.5, and it is juice minus 125 to the over. Karl Anthony Towns, your second highest number at 22.5. We know from a series-long standpoint, you liked the Josh Hart to lead the series in rebounds prop, but as for tonight, was there anything points, rebounds, PRAs, any of that type of stuff that stood out to you?
No, I'm just going to be curious to see. So Karl Anthony Towns, his point total prop here today was in the range of 23.5, right?
22.5, yeah.
Look, he killed him in the regular season. Shot over 56%, had very good games against him. I think that he is going to be able to have a pretty successful game for the most, or series for the most part. And he is, we'll call him the difference maker, even though, of course, we know he's a very good player and Brunson has been absolutely tremendous. But I think there's a reality in which Karl Anthony Towns actually has a pretty strong series against Turner in this front court. Okay. And I'd be very curious to see what his production is like. The usage has dropped a little bit here in the postseason, but I think the matchup works pretty well for him. That Cat could have a pretty good game, whether it's from beyond the arc or just having success and challenging Turner on some of these closeout when they run these pick and pops, getting aggressive, posting guys up, and getting to the rim from the low block. I think he's going to be able to do that throughout the series. So
okay, from the Eastern Conference in the NBA to the Western Conference in the NHL, Oilers Stars Game 1 tonight. And I like, just from a narrative standpoint, that both of these teams have redemption on their brain. The Dallas Stars, after losing in 6 to the Edmonton Oilers at this level in the conference finals a year ago, and then Edmonton trying to bounce back from making it all the way to the Cup final. They go down 3-0 in that series, force a Game 7, and ultimately lose. And that's kind of their narrative of the season.
I have a narrative question for you.
Sure.
So, and we got a point of evidence to this last night, but Carolina, right, when I brought it up to you or when you bring it up to people who watch hockey, there's doubt in the failures of Carolina prior. They've now, lost 13 straight conference finals games. And again, point of evidence yesterday that maybe that is the case, that they're not ready for this, whatever it is. Why is that narrative not as strong for Dallas, who has failed multiple times here? This is their third straight trip, right, to the conference finals. They've lost the previous two.
I don't know, because I've been saying to you and Mike Palm when we had him on the program last week, I do feel that way about Dallas. Like, they continually get here and get close and can't find a way to go the distance. And so that's a point of frustration I have in betting Dallas, and that's why I didn't bet them this year. But to your point earlier this week as well, when you were talking about the Canes, well, why couldn't they be the Celtics of last year, right?
Sure.
Everybody is this way until they eventually break through. And I think a lot of people just believe that for Dallas, because of the level of talent that they have, and especially now with them getting some of those important pieces back in Miro Heiskanen and now Jason Robertson, that they should be able to do it. Can they? I don't know. Right. I like Edmonton. I told you that. And that's despite everything about the Dallas Stars telling me that they're the better team top to bottom. Edmonton has just showed up. I'm really excited for our conversation with Jonathan Davis in a little bit because I want to get his opinion of Stuart Skinner. Nails the last two games. Back-to-back shutouts against Vegas. But the numbers for Stuart Skinner, games 4 through 7 of postseason series compared to games 1 through 3 are starkly different. He gets better as the series goes on. What version of him are we going to get in game 1 against a hot Dallas team at home?
Sure. I mean, I'll be honest. Looking at everything, I do find myself gravitating toward Dallas to win the series. Like, listening, you know what I mean? Listening to you, just the evaluation of these teams, the way that they've played, I feel like there's something a little bit more there for Dallas to win a potentially long series here. But there is something to be said about the unquantifiable, like, hey, one team's just like playing better right now, and they have the best player on the floor. And sometimes, like we saw it in basketball, sometimes that means you can drag 6.5 players to a Game 7 against the Oklahoma City Thunder, or just make consecutive runs to a Stanley Cup final. But I feel like it's Dallas in this series. But you know what? No, I'm not going to give up.
But I'm not going to give up. They have, while the Edmonton Oilers have had outstanding depth for whatever reason in the playoffs, like, I don't know how real that is necessarily. Meanwhile, Dallas has that a lot more with their core top to bottom. They have the special teams advantage, better number on the power play, better number on the kill. But how good could Edmonton's power play be if they finally come alive and reach their stretch? They're getting high danger chances. It's not for lack of trying that their power play hasn't delivered. So will that finally come alive for them and tip the scales? I don't know. And so that's what I'm having trouble with here. And specifically for game 1, I don't know if you agree with this or not. I think game 1s, you kind of have the widest range of outcomes because we're not sure how the series is going to be officiated yet. Sometimes, like yesterday, we see officials a little bit more liberal with their whistle. They don't mind blowing it as much because game 1 doesn't feel as important as a game 5, 6, or 7. So are we going to get the tight checking, good defense, high-level goaltending, or are we going to get kind of the free-for-all like we have gotten in a handful of these early game 1s? By the way, everybody, Edge Boost, first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring any and all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. You get cash back rewards, 100% approval as well for all betting deposits. And when you sign up today at edgeboost.bet, use our promo code MONEY. Deposit $25. EdgeBoost is going to match that deposit for you. That's edgeboost.bet. And again, that total sitting 6.5. We do have a baseball game, by the way, that is about to get underway at 9:35. So maybe real quickly off the top of this next segment, when we come back, we will hit you with that. And Jonathan Davis joins us next. Best bets and props for the night, as well as why bettors need to look at home ice disadvantage in the playoffs. We'll get to it all next.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
RIP to anyone who bet on the Reds yesterday. You're looking at how bad that Pirates team is. Entered the day on a 4-game skid. From April 26th to yesterday, they were 4-17. Terrible hitting team. Yeah. Well,
you know who else is a terrible hitting team?
Who else?
The Reds.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, yeah. That was a good one. I wasn't catching on there.
Yeah.
But this is my point. Is like all you needed was one or more runs to see if you could do something, and you end up losing 1-0. So going back at it today, your boy Heen Dog on the hill for Pittsburgh, Andrew Heaney against Brady Singer. Anything stand out to you here?
I mean, I think it's just whether or not the Heen Dog is going to be able to do this. So, when we first started our excursion as Money Moves, one of the first games that we talked about baseball-wise was the start against Chicago, and whether or not this start for his season a bit legitimate, right? Because he'd been facing, as you had astutely pointed out, a bunch of really poor lineups. Well, in the 2 starts that had followed, he pitched 8 in a third of an inning or 9 third innings over 2 starts, gave up 8 earned runs, got smoked in 2 starts. That was against the Cubs and the Padres. Well, those are 2 really good lineups. He has since bounced back 11 innings over his last 2 starts against Atlanta and Philly, giving up 3 total earned runs. You can look at the underlying metrics over his last few starts and say he probably deserved to get knocked around a little bit. But the whole point here is that this is not the Cubs. This is not, right? This is not any of these lineups that we're talking about. This is a Reds lineup which has been vomit-inducingly bad. So I feel like the Heen Dog, why, later today when we talk about some of these baseball games, I think that there is a play that every time I'm just going to be like, you know what, sign me up, Captain, I'm in. Here, just facing this Reds lineup, which has been atrocious, why would I not just assume that Heaney, with some positives in his profile, at the very least, is not going to be able to hold up? First 5 minus the half run for Cincinnati, team total under for Pittsburgh potentially in the first 5. I was talking to Fezzik earlier, first 3 innings under if you think that could be the case too. But that is something where why would I trust that Heaney's floor is not going to be raised by facing this lineup?
Mm-hmm. Fair. In terms of the game price, the Reds minus 125. That's down, though, from around minus 135 at open. So Pittsburgh is getting a little bit of play there. They're available plus 105. Run total for the full game sitting 8. That first pitch coming up in just a moment. Let's get back into a little bit of hockey as we have Jonathan Davis joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, NHL betting analyst and expert here at VSiN, at West Coast Hockey, HKY on X. Jonathan, before we get into tonight's game, just wanted to get your thoughts on what we saw last night. If you are the Carolina Hurricanes, it was very obvious that you're not playing the Capitals or New Jersey Devils anymore with that start.
You're not. And, the Florida Panthers just out Carolina. They can play the same style as the Canes, and they've got more upside offensively. And look, Carolina held Florida to 20 shots on goal. They've yet to give up 21 in a game, but it just doesn't matter. Florida finds a way, and here's something to consider just moving forward with Florida. 3 of their last 4 games, someone from their 4th line has scored a goal. So if you just want to play all 3 of their 4th liners for a goal, you got a good chance at coming away with some good money.
Jonathan, I've been pushing back on this narrative of the soft Carolina team, but they've now lost 13 straight conference finals games. It seemed that transpired here a little bit. What is it about this ceiling that they cannot break through? Why do they seem to run into a wall this late into this postseason?
Because the sum of the parts is greater than any one individual on Carolina. They know one way to play and one way only. They've got one game breaker on their team, and that's Andrei Svechnikov. And here's the problem with Svechnikov. JVT, he has played 16 games against Sergei Bobrovsky. You and I have as many goals against Bobrovsky as Svechnikov does. If he can't score for them in the playoffs against Florida, they're doomed. He had 8 goals in the first 2 rounds. He is their best goal scorer. But if he can't find a way to solve Bob and help them open the door, I don't think they stand a chance.
Stormy, tell me if this is a fair comp. Go back to the years where Chip Kelly was at Oregon. Remember, he would run into Stanford, and Harbaugh would just run the ball down that finesse throw. He would just absolutely demolish them, and they would lose those games against more physical teams. It seems like that actually might be a similar comp.
A little bit, yeah. It's just sometimes that style or whatever it is. And with this Hurricanes team, too, Jonathan, they were playing so well at home, but the Panthers are a team that's been so good on the road. And you look at their last 3 playoff road games, 3-0, 5-6-7 goals for per game, 1-3-3 goals against, plus 13 goal differential. I know you were texting me earlier about the home disadvantage a lot of teams have in the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs.
Well, I mean, look, you look at the last 6 playoff series, so the 4 from round 2 and the 2 here in round 3. The road team, despite not being necessarily the favorite in game 1, has been the series favorite. That's a rarity. We were home teams were 32-15 in round 1. They were 13-10 only in round 2, and now 0-1 here in round 3. So, look, the better team is considered to have been the road team to start out, so it shouldn't be so surprising. And then when we look at tonight's game with Edmonton and Dallas, look, prior to Dallas beating Winnipeg in Game 1 of their series, the Dallas Stars had lost 9 straight Game 1s. It's the total opposite of Pete DeBoer in Game 7. Loves Game 7s. Game 1 has not been as kind to him in the past.
Sorry, I got wrapped up in a little bit of something here. I was distracted by some NFL news. All right, anything when you look at this in terms of player props, anything else, anything deeper on the board outside of side or total for this game tonight? Is there something we should be looking for?
Well, I think, look, from the Edmonton side, you've got Kasperi Kapanen and Vasily Podkolzin, who are both playing along Leon Draisaitl. By accident, they should find a way to score. It was Kapanen that scored the game winner in overtime to knock out the Golden Knights, but you're getting them at, I think, Kapanen at 8-1 or 10-1, and Podkolzin at 8-1. I'm looking for an assist prop with them or a points prop as well, because I just think there's value there. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is going to be playing with Connor McDavid and Zach Hyman. He's third on the team in assists. Prior to the last 2 games in Vegas, he had points in 7 straight. I like him for a point as well. And Evan Bouchard, who is first on the team, you get him at plus money to get an assist tonight. On the Dallas side, I like Jason Robertson to break through. He struggled. Look, Dallas's big problem, you guys talked about it before I came on, the depth of Dallas, it wasn't there in round 2 against Winnipeg. They scored 12 goals against the Jets. 7 came from Rantanen and Mikael Granlund. I'd still like Granlund at plus 330 for an anytime goal. He's playing with Rantanen and Hintz on the top line. I mentioned Jason Robertson. He's got a great history against Stuart Skinner. He's got 11 goals in 18 games regular season and playoffs combined. You can get a good number on Jason Robertson as well. So those are a couple of guys. And Thomas Harley for an assist. He's got an assist in 5 of the last 7 games for Dallas. You get him at big plus money for an assist. It's just too good to pass up.
How much, Jonathan, of what we've seen from Edmonton, in your opinion, is real? Like the depth scoring from everywhere that we've seen from them, the defense standing tall, even Stuart Skinner since he was re-injected into the lineup.
Well, I think the depth scoring is real. I mean, look, this is a team that kind of built itself up for the playoffs with the additions that they made in and around the deadline. Like Trent Frederick came from Boston. That was a guy that is kind of built for the playoffs. Corey Perry, the ageless wonder, he'll be on the 4th line tonight, but he's leading the team or tied to the team lead with 5 goals. I'm buying what we're seeing. I don't think it's fugazi. 16 different players with a goal. Only Florida has more. So I do buy the depth. And look, that's been Dallas's problem, as I alluded to. Only 12 different players with a goal, and only, I think, 5 in the second round. So they really do need to step it up, Dallas. They put their lines in a blender for this series. And so, they're hoping that they can kind of turn things around. But I am buying what we're seeing. You talked about Skinner, before I came on, his struggles early on in the series. Maybe you try to grab Dallas early and Edmonton late. I'm going to kind of wait and see how things play out. I tend to zigzag. We've had the great trend guys and ladies that, teams that coming off of a loss end up scoring the first goal in the next game of a series. So I will look to target that with both Carolina in Game 2, and we'll see what happens after Game 1, Dallas and Edmonton.
So last 60 seconds for Edmonton, if we're maybe buying what we're selling here, would this be a situation where you lay 1.5 games for a series? It's a pick right now. You can get plus 170 minus 1.5 games for Edmonton.
I think if you're going to play Edmonton, I do like, I would lay the 1.5 and just hope that you don't go to a Game 7.
Jonathan, appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much for doing this, buddy.
Take care. Have a good one.
Back at you. Jonathan Davis, again, our VSiN hockey betting expert, got an article up on the website right now breaking down both the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, but best bets for tonight, kind of recapping what he went through just there. Also still to come on the website, got Tyler Shoemaker with his WNBA picks, Steve Makinen's MLB analytics report, and live on the website right now, Wes Reynolds with his thoughts on the Charles Schwab and Greg Peterson's MLB picks. Of course, JVT, Zach Cohen breaking down all things NBA as well. We're going to take a quick step aside, but when we come back, Why Not Wednesday, looking at some different plus money props and situations. I have a couple things actually coming out of this Dallas-Edmonton series, specifically Game 1 tonight as well. So stick around. Why Not Wednesday? After this, plenty more to come on Money Moves.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ready to get in on the action? First Bet has you covered. Sign up now to access exclusive promotions and bet on hundreds of thrilling horse races every day right from your phone or computer. Head over to firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. And use the promo code VSiN200. That'll score you a 20% rebate on all your wagers the first 60 days, up to $200. Don't miss out. Start betting today at firstbet.com. And JVT, last segment when we had Jonathan Davis on the program, you said something NFL related distracted you. And now I'm on pins and needles. I need to know what it is.
So we get the vote today, despite many reports that the tush push was DOA.
Yep.
It is not. It is still alive. I believe only 22 votes essentially to end the tush push. They needed 24, so they do not get there. Tush push alive and well. So the Philadelphia Eagles social media account on YouTube decided to post a 26-minute and 18-second video of all these successful tush pushes in Eagles history.
That's actually really well done.
Yeah, pretty good. And I was distracted because I was actually watching. I was like 3 minutes in, and I was like, oh, wait, I should probably be listening and asking intelligent questions, which I am not.
I think you did a great job faking it.
There you go.
Push on. That's so good.
I'm so glad, by the way. Can I just say, I think you're a wimp and a loser if you wanted to get this out of here. Stop invoking safety. You don't care about that because you're adding an extra game. You astutely pointed that out when we talked about it. If you don't like it, stop it. It goes back to my whole thing of, look, the overtime rules and everybody needs a chance. You can get a chance. Just make a stop here. And the same thing here. It's not like every team in the National Football League is lining up the way the Eagles are and converting third and shorts and fourth and shorts and whatever it is at this insanely high rate. There's one team that can do this, and there's one team that can do this well. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. And so it comes off as just so whiny and unfair and all this kind of stuff. Things that I deal with my 3- and 6-year-old children on a day-to-day basis, as opposed to NFL franchises complaining that it's unfair. Just stop it. If you don't like it, stop it, and I'm very glad that it's still here.
I agree. I think that it's one of those things where they have found a strategic advantage and they are playing to that. And any other team is more than welcome to try to do that themselves and work on it and build your roster toward it if you want to be able to have that. Otherwise, yes, to your point, stop it. I just pulled up the Eagles schedule. Get ready for Week 10, Monday night in Green Bay, taking on the team that was trying to eradicate the tush push, the one that submitted this proposal. Our good friend Brian Ortega, our producer, his favorite team that absolutely wants the tush push banned. He supports Green Bay. How many times do you think they're going to do it that game?
I was going to say, thank you. I was going to correct Ortega.
What?
Don't worry. He is a 2-time owner of the the Green Bay Packers.
Excuse me.
So don't look out for that. Look out for that. But yes, I'm very excited for that. Look, I hate to admit it, but I'm very much looking forward to football season as a whole.
Yeah. Me too. And that is why you actually have one football item, actually two, as we hop into Why Not Wednesday. Roll that open.
Question, maybe a stupid one, but I'm just spitballing here.
Can it make you say why not?
That wasn't a stupid question.
It's time for Why Not Wednesday.
I mean, why not?
You know when they say it's so crazy it just might work?
It's so crazy it just might work. Okay, what's your first football one?
So let's go here. I will say that I am a Jonathan Gannon stan, head coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I think we as a whole tend to really freak out about stupid things. If you remember right before his first year as head coach, there was that video that got released He did this weird, awkward speech in front of the Cardinals. Everybody thought he was going to be awful. He has been very good. They covered 11 games last year, one of the better bet-on teams a season ago. Things kind of fell apart, but they had an insanely strong offseason, Stormy, when you look at the Arizona Cardinals and what they eventually did. Adding to this defense, Josh Sweat, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson, Gannon's a defensive coach. His first year there, they were 32nd in opponent EPA per play. Last year, they climbed up a little bit to 26th. This year, they had some really good pieces. Gannon's great. I think that this is a team, look, the offensive line still needs some upgrades here, so it's not going to be perfect. But at 20-1 for a guy that has proven that he can outperform expectations, I think Gannon is going to be pretty live here. With, by the way, we should note, a very manageable schedule, top 10 in terms of easiest schedules in the National Football League. If you use opponent win total, Jonathan Gannon, 20-1, Coach of the Year. Why not?
I say why not. Also, looking at their road schedule, 5 of their 9 road games are indoors. The only weather risk is Week 17 in Cincinnati. And yeah, they have a couple tough road opponents, but I would bet that number now, to your point, because look at the beginning of that schedule.
All winnable games.
New Orleans to start the season against Carolina. And I know you and I are high on Carolina, but I would say the greater masses are not. San Francisco, yes, tough, but then Seattle, where you got Sam Darnold and a new offense. Tennessee, where another rookie in Cam Ward, after probably facing Tyler Shuck week 1, and then versus Indianapolis, whoever the hell is playing quarterback for them at that point. Is it Anthony Richardson? Is it Daniel Jones? I don't know.
Yeah, relax. It's Anthony Richardson.
Okay, who knows? Maybe that's what I should have put in Why Not Wednesday. Can you say why not to Daniel Jones being the week 1 starter in Indy?
No, don't get me on this.
Come on.
Don't get me.
Come on.
I'll start. They brought in Daniel Jones you're going to get me off topic here. They brought in Daniel Jones so he could win the quarterback battle. I'm not saying Richardson's going to be good. I think they're still, again, much like with Bryce Young, I sat here and told Tim and Matt, you guys are ridiculous. Stop giving up on guys like 6 games in. Let's see what they can do. Same thing here. He could be terrible. He actually could turn out to be relatively good. We still don't know yet. So I will just say, I think the Colts brought in a Daniel Jones because they know, look, if he beats out Daniel Jones, it's not that crazy of a move here in an offseason battle. I think they want him to win it, but that's just...
I know you're a Colts fan, so you're very deep in the weeds on this. I'm excited to further this conversation as we go. One final thought on the Cardinals, though.
Yeah, we're talking
I know
about
you like Jonathan Gannon. I like their win total over 8.5, even money on that price, by the way.
Let's go.
Okay.
Hell yeah, brother. Look, because I will say this. Last year, too, like I like this Arizona team a lot. Had bet over their win total, too. And I think that this is I just like Gannon a ton, man. And I think, actually, remember, last year, our blackjack tournament, do you remember I finished 21st, 22nd for the NFL season? You don't remember what my future was?
Mm-mm.
Your husband made fun of me, as did Big Balls here.
I don't remember what it was.
It was the Cardinals.
Was
it was
really?
150-1. Look, I was really far down, so it's not like I was going to get anything crazy. But I was like, screw it. Let me get the Cardinals.
You've been a believer for a while. So
Absolutely.
it's Kyler Murray. Lots on you, buddy. We'll see how it plays out. As for tonight in the NHL, can you say why not to a Leon Draisaitl anytime goal? I know
Will
it's
it
not.
be for the other team?
I know. Oh, come on. Leave Vegas out of
The
this.
Las Vegas Golden Knights goal?
Vegas
Scored by Leon
out
Draisaitl?
of this. I know it's plus 120, and that's not the sexiest price for a goal scorer, but Leon Draisaitl been held out of the back of the net 3 straight games. That does not happen for this guy. His only streak this season, including the playoffs, that was at least 3 games, was a 4-game run in early January. I think that he pots one tonight.
Yeah, I thought he scored a game winner the other night. That could have been just me, though. No, I would agree. Like, I'm with you. Like, again, you can only hold down greatness so much, and I just there's something to be said of the way these guys are playing, and I would assume that Draisaitl's going to have enough here to get this thing done. So, you know what? I'll tell it with you. Let's do this thing.
Let me follow that up with the concept of, can you say why not to depth being the reason that Edmonton is going to win this whole thing? I know that it sounds crazy and silly, but I think this is for real. We talked about it with Jonathan Davis last segment. Through 2 rounds, they have 16 different players that have scored goals. And with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid on the bench at the same time, Oilers are plus 5 when they're both off the ice 5-on-5. In each of the previous 3 postseasons, that was a negative goal differential. 2022, negative 10. Minus 5 in 2023, minus 4 in 2024. This is just a different team, and they're operating at a different level. Plus 270 is the price on them to win it all. I would prefer to bet probably Conn Smythe, which we'll get to a little bit later on in the show. But I feel like the Oilers are going to do it. I just do.
I guess the rebuttal to why not to bet them to win the Stanley Cup is why not just bet them to win the series and roll that over into the Stanley Cup final?
Take it
to
that
quibble
way.
with that, but I wouldn't disagree. By the way, we have our first submission on social media for Why Not Wednesday. Kelly Bidlin highlighting Anthony Richardson at 100-1 to win MVP and saying why not?
No.
Let's go, baby. Come on.
No.
The reality is there.
We did have another tweet, by the way. Jason, frequent viewer of the show, said, Stormy, question. Did JVT buy a ticket to the gun show? Look at that.
There you go. Were you flexing right there?
I have no arm muscles.
You show. Let's see the. You see the triceps. You see the triceps. Can you flex the tris?
Can you even do that? How do you do
Yes,
that?
you can flex
I
the
don't think I have a tricep.
That's an incredible question. Can you flex your tricep?
I don't know if I have a tricep muscle. It's more like a blob.
All right, really quickly. I'll go to my last one. I'll just throw this out there, and this is actually a can of worms to open up a conversation. So I'm doing this a little different. Toronto Blue Jays. Why not bet them to miss the playoffs at -320? Now, here is the impetus of this. I was upstairs talking to Fez, and we were talking about just philosophy when it comes to betting. And I think one of the things that kind of drives me a little nuts is when I'm told, you can't lay a price like that. It's like, well, why not? If you think, for example, this price right here, he asked me, what would you say probability-wise the chances are that Toronto Blue Jays make the playoffs? And I'd say, I don't know, like 20%. That puts me at like -500 making that price, or excuse me, -400 for them to miss the playoffs. Books lay those prices all the time against us, and they're making money. It's what they do every day. Why not bet these prices? Come on now.
Sure, go for it. Last one on the way out. I don't know if anybody,
supposed to be a nuanced conversation
if anybody
about philosophy.
missed the news that Jordan Hudson has been telling people, apparently, reportedly, allegedly, that her and Bill Belichick are engaged. Can you say why not to them actually just being married already? That's what I think is the case.
You think like they've secretly married each other?
I think it's already been done.
Oh, good thing we're going to break. I'm looking at a clip of Tom Cruise on the Pat McAfee show.
He's wild, man. Have you seen that flight clip?
Yeah, see them all.
Chaos. We'll be right back.
I'm a big Mission Impossible guy.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.